1, 2, 3.
Somebody wake me up from this nightmare, because I gotta be dreaming.
You're not dreaming. This is X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. And I am your host.
What fairy tale did you tell him to make him trust you?
No fairy tales at all. We just bring a lovely, trustworthy podcast to you week after week. And with me is deal with the devil.
Very nice.
And with me, as always, is my co-host.
One small edition.
One small edition, but a significant one, I think.
Well, it's
Red
literally
Andre.
described as a small edition, therefore not being significant at all.
Small in stature, but big in impact.
I'm 6'2".
I don't know what it is then.
Okay. Gonna say
I thought for sure you were gonna be Mayat Red.
I thought about a few different ones, but I like the sound since of Red Andre, since it's all very Cold Wars and 50s ish. And I know the last episode with Omega Red was called Red Dawn, so which seems that they didn't try that hard when it came to that's something to do with Cold War. Let's pick a movie from the 80s about the Cold War. Red Dawn it is.
Well, we're gonna talk about that. I have a feeling. So we're here to review Season 4, Episode 2 of the X-Men animated series, A Deal with the Devil, written by friend of the show, Eric Lewald, directed by Larry Houston. All right, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, though, why don't we, people haven't heard from us in a couple of weeks, for good reason, mind you.
Well, I mean, they heard from us. We're heroes.
It's true. Oh, wait. I thought I changed that. I'm supposed to be catching up with Andre and Davan. I know I changed that. Oh, well. There
That's
it is.
all right.
With Andre
we
and
all
Davan.
know it's the Davan show featuring Andre. That's fine. You go ahead and take front and center, and I'll just meld it.
No, you first. You first. Tell the people how your holidays are going so far.
Good.
What you want Santa to bring you for Christmas?
Stuff.
I don't have fascinating. Quite fascinating.
No, the holidays are good. I'm usually I get pretty proactive when it comes to the holiday season. So I had most of my shopping kind of done the end of November, early December. So all that's kind of done. Just a little bit of baking to do, I guess, which is something I've picked up in recent years. And that's about it, really. Just gonna pick up a few groceries, some baking stuff.
What are you baking?
Well, I have a signature dish I discovered on a TikTokers site that I like to watch, and I'm not even really into TikTok that much. But there's this guy that takes old recipes, like from old cookbooks. His name's Dylan Hollis, and Depression era cookbooks or like Civil War cookbooks, and like he'll just make them and see what they're actually like or if they're any good. And some of them are like fucking the Jello catalog that came out in the 70s, like what weird ass Jello concoctions people are making with that, which some of them are very interesting and disturbing. But one of the things he makes, which seemed so impossibly easy and looked so good that I had to try it, was ice cream bread, which literally is, you take a tub of ice cream, 2 cups of full fat ice cream, you mix it with 1.5 cups of flour, and then 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. You mix it together and then just put it in a greased loaf pan and let it go for about 45 minutes on 375. And it makes an amazing
ice cream.
Ice cream's got it all already, right? The eggs, the butter, the fat, it's all in there. So it actually makes incredibly. And if you want to,
who do these genius spy catchers think they're dealing with?
Why does that
Winnie
keep
the
happening?
Pooh.
So
I'm not pressing anything, and that keeps happening. I feel like
really
there's a glitch on my computer. It's too late to shut her down now, but you're probably going to hear that sound effect a few more times because it keeps playing.
Sweet.
And I don't know why.
So anyway, just I made that, and for extra fun, if you want to throw some frosting on and some sprinkles on the top, You can do that, and it makes a nice little kind of confectionery, almost like a cake, kind of like a bread cake, but it's very good. And you can always do different types of ice cream. So
Have you done Nova Scotian style moon mist bread?
not yet. Actually, maybe I should try that next.
Yeah,
I just did vanilla the first time to try it, and it worked out very well.
for the kids for Christmas.
So
The
yeah.
kids will love a moon mist bread. The kids who
Well,
don't have
my wife's a chocolate person, so I'll probably do something chocolate for the next one.
that's always good. You can't go wrong with chocolate.
Yeah, so I'll probably do a bit. I was going to make one of those to take home when I go home for the holidays, Friday or Saturday, and yeah, I got a week off between Christmas and New Year's, so I might do a few day trips around the province. Nothing too exciting, just to get out and do something. And yeah, it's pretty much it for as far as what I'm looking for. Not a lot of desires really. I think my wife's getting me some new headphones, which I need, and I don't know what my parents are getting, but I gave them some lists of stuff. So yeah, hoping just some cool Blu-rays or nice whiskey, something fun.
Oh yeah,
I'm the kind of guy that kind of buys whatever I need when I need it, so it's hard to shop for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm probably the same way.
Anyway, how about you?
Just selling Christmas trees, being a dad.
How are Christmas tree sales going this year?
Oh, they seemed, maybe a little down.
Really?
Fairly normal. Yeah.
I was talking to a guy yesterday.
People are growing less.
I was talking to a guy yesterday who is the next guest on my podcast, and he was telling me he spent 3 hours going all around Halifax trying to find a Christmas tree because I guess all the lots that were all in Halifax are all either sold out and packed up.
Yep, same with us. That's what we did.
You're sold out?
Oh yeah.
How can you say sales are down then? You
Well,
sold all of the
less.
trees. Oh, I see.
Because so
Well,
getting they're more expensive, and you just can't afford to have any left over anymore. So you just bring in, yeah. So that's why they're all sold out everywhere. It's not a shortage of trees; it's just a shortage of people selling them.
Perhaps they should have increased their sales, and then they could have sold more trees.
Maybe. You can't be too sure. But anyway, that's about it. Just getting my Christmas shopping done. Looking forward to the baby opening presents on Christmas. Be the first one she actually can kind of just do that sort of thing.
Enjoy what's in store for her this year. What's Santa
I got
bringing
her just ride on, because she loves riding on things. Even if you get her like some sort of like bulldozer thing that's not supposed to be ridden on, she turns it into a ride on. Everything's a ride on. So I got her an actual ride on sort of thing. Now she's already driving a tricycle, but this is just some kind of like a weird toy. Like
Have you considered a large dog with a saddle?
I'm not a dog person.
No, I think it would be if you had one.
Well, I like a good dog, but I still don't want one. They're just a lot of work. If you already have kids,
true.
Kids and a dog, that sounds like a lot. And cats, my cats can be a lot of work. So, I guess that's what's going on here. We live exciting lives, people. That is for sure. That's why you come here. People come here.
That's right, for these exciting, riveting tales of what's going on in our lives.
Yeah.
Ice cream bread, and Christmas trees.
If you didn't catch it, if you missed us, it's because last week we did this great interview, and you should go back and check that out if you haven't already. With Alison Seeley Smith. That's what we were doing last week.
Mm-hmm.
And that was super fun and great. She's awesome.
Yeah, very fun. Very nice lady. And a ton of great stories and a lot of, fellow thespian. So treading the boards in the theater. So it was nice chatting to her about that.
When did you figure out that you were a thespian?
Well, I had my DNA checked and it was 65% thespian. So I realized then that my calling was the thespionics.
Very funny. All right. Why don't you take
it's very droll, Andre. Very droll.
Very droll. Very droll.
Very droll. Golf club.
Right. Season 4, episode 2, A Deal with the Devil, written by, like I said, friend of the show, Eric Lewald. And if you didn't hear it in the past episode, we gave that exclusive as a follow-up that he wrote for this. that never got
I'll
made.
bring me the head of Charles
Yeah,
Xavier,
bring me the
which
head
is
of
kind of
yeah.
interesting considering Xavier and Omega Red don't really tangle at all in this or even see each other. So, but it's interesting.
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
Do you notice the intro to this episode was different?
Yeah, that was gonna be
Yeah.
one of my X points. But whatever.
Well, you can still bring it up later.
Oh, good. Yeah, I might.
We don't have to
But
talk
maybe
about it.
not. I
We
gotta
can just make a note of that
No,
now
no.
and then
Let's
bring it up
talk.
again
Let's
later.
talk about it. There were like new scenes, and the music was different.
Yeah, they like. I thought
The-
I thought the theme already shredded pretty hard, but somehow they managed to turn the Rams to 11, if you will. 'Cause it was a
They
lot of
made
like.
a lot more sustain. Like
Yeah, and it was like heavier. There's like a lot more. I don't know. Like I'm not like
Yeah.
I play an acoustic guitar, but that's about it. And I'm not great at it. So, there are all these levels with the electric guitar that were like riffing more, I think, than it did in the previous one. And there are all these new scenes, a lot more stuff with Bishop and people from Cable and other people from the future, which is interesting. So, yeah, I know we had a different
That
one.
scene was gone, right? Where they run at each other. Like,
Yeah, they
was
got rid of
gone.
that. They just do a flashing of a bunch of different villains, and I think there's some new ones in there, ones we didn't see in that villains running at each other segment from before. But yeah, it was very neat.
It was very action packed. It was good.
It was kind of like a halfway point between the Japanese intro and then the actual intro. No Brood in this one though. So, hey Sam, welcome to the show.
All right, let's
get into this episode of Deal with the Devil, which we see, an icy mountaintop, which you may recognize, but probably won't. So I don't even think they're animated the same as the place where the episode Red Dawn ended, with Storm freezing Omega Red to incapacitate him as they discovered that cold is his weakness. That'll sync him up. So you see this group
which is weird. Like it's the Russians that built this like super soldier, and his vulnerability.
Yeah, it's true. And they kept him frozen for decades. Also weird, the X-Men just froze him and then just left him there. They just said, well, that's that. Just wiped their hands of it and went back home and left this horribly destructive bioweapon alive, just out in the open for anyone like these good people to show up and take. And as we quickly discovered, they were in fact searching for Omega Red, and they are Americans, and being led by a atypical military type leader dude with the haircut and the forceful attitude. So they're chunking him out of the ice. He's very telling them that they need to be careful because this guy is was a weapon that nearly destroyed half a city when he was around last time, and they got to be more careful. So we do discover that the what they're chiseling out is in fact Omega Red, who I always love when people are frozen, because in the episode I think he was like doing something when he got frozen, like he was holding on to Cyclops or something. But in this episode, he's just like perfectly preserved, like he's laying down on a bed. He looks like Sleeping Beauty. So then
they could have called this one Encino Red.
Ooh, I like that. That'd be even fun. Like I would love an episode like that, where like say there's something happens with the truck along the way, and then his frozen body gets picked up by like some surfer dudes in California.
But he has no memory, so he just like hangs out with the surfer.
That's dudes. Right, and then he like has flashes of the horrible person he was before, and it goes that man, this thing writes itself.
I'd be there for that episode actually.
I absolutely would. And then at the end, he kind of like goes back to his full bad self, but a tinge of his friendship with them remains because he like spares their life or lets them go, and maybe says
you
something.
You can have them voiced by Pauly Shore and Sam Wise.
Oh, Sean Astin.
No.
Right. Yeah. Brendan Fraser was the Encino Man.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say Billy
We
Bob.
wish to make you an offer.
I do not make deals with imperialists. I was created to fight your kind.
That war is over. We won.
I like how dismissive he is. It's like, that war is over. We won.
Yeah, don't worry about that anymore.
Well, it's like his voice, whoever's doing the voice of Omega Red, which I think, I don't know if it's listed in the cast or not. Yeah, it is. Len Donchef. That voice is like he's aping somebody famous or some character that's famous, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is.
Really?
Yeah, it's just sounds very familiar to me, and I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm gonna have to try to find it somewhere because it does sound incredibly familiar. He's a Canadian actor, so he may have been in something that I heard him else in, but no, so it's in there somewhere. But anyway, Omega Red is tied up. The government basically makes a deal with him that there is a deactivated Russian Cold War era submarine that's off the coast of Hawaii that's just sitting on a precipice in the ocean with nuclear warheads on it. And the only one capable of going in there and disarming them for the American government is, in fact, Omega Red, because he can withstand high levels of radiation. And
not the cold, though.
And he knows all the codes that they would need to operate the sub and get it out of harm's way. So, at first I thought it was kind of dumb that they uniquely need this guy to do this until they sort of explained it out a little more. Then I was like, well, it kind of makes sense. So, although, how do they know where to find him is my other cue. Like the X-Men just like tell the government, hey, there's this bioweapon frozen in the side of a mountain over in Russia.
Intel.
Also, how do they get to Russia and get him out of there? That'd be an impressive operation in itself. American government just sneaking into Russia.
Well, there's a few unanswered questions, I'll admit.
Well, life is just one big unanswered question, Davan.
We do the best we can.
No, we don't.
You have been implanted with a sealed vial of liquid nitrogen. Betray us, and you shall regret it.
I like dealing with serious people. Your terms are satisfactory.
It's just strange. He looks so otherworldly and sort of evil with the red eyes and the hair and
great design,
the metal on his face. Yeah, great design, but like it's just weird seeing him like interact with the government. Just like having a conversation with like some bureaucratic government type. But anyway,
sweet Karate Kid headband.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. He does. And he has like Iron Man boots on as part of his restraints, which I find kind of funny. But he says that he'll only partake in this mission if he wants insurances of his own, and will only do it with the assistance of two of the X-Men, Wolverine and Storm, of course, relating to the people that were responsible for his capture, or rather his recontainment in the previous appearance he had in the series. We then, of course,
he's always needed Wolverine.
Oh, yes, they have tangled in the past quite a bit, but we do quickly see Wolverine unhappy with this decision, as we cut to what we would assume to be Charles Xavier telling them the news just before. So Wolverine's very upset by this. He knows they're walking into a trap. Xavier saying there's no other choice. The government needs their help to do this. And he volunteers basically take Wolverine's place, and Wolverine won't do it, which of course immediately makes Wolverine say he'll do it, which I thought was nice.
Who do these genius spy catchers think they're dealing with? Winnie the Pooh?
The liquid nitrogen implant seems a reasonable precaution.
For a Boy Scout, Omega Red eats the stuff for breakfast.
Wolverine doesn't know about Omega Red's very obvious weakness to cold.
He was there when they froze him last time, wasn't he?
Well, he forgot.
No, okay. Also, I like that Wolverine's reference is Winnie the Pooh, because like that's like a World War II era kids character. So like of the things,
the Canadian reference though.
Well, yeah, because they made the Canadian cartoon, the cartoon and the Canadian. It was created by Canadian. Milne, Milne. So he, So the fact that he made a Winnie the Pooh reference, I thought was kind of funny, because it's a dated enough one that if he's remembering his World War II days, I guess that would come up, which I thought was interesting. So I guess he probably wouldn't though, because his memory of his wife, that would have been before the adamantium. So, but still,
he's a fan of the newer cartoons.
Perhaps so. Gotta get up, gotta get going. I gotta see a friend of mine. Man, I tell you, if you remember that Winnie the Pooh cartoon at all, at whatever advanced age you are, and if you are in our age bracket, remember it. There's one episode where Rabbit adopts like a baby bird that like is lost, and then befriends this bird and has a real father relationship to this little bird until it's old enough to fly on its own. And that is one of, if not the most heartbreaking episodes to show a kid, who's just trying to watch a cartoon on a Saturday morning and have some fun with like this. It's sweet in that he knows it's time for the bird to fly on its own and doesn't need him anymore. But the amount of sadness that you can see in this animated character about having to give up essentially a daughter to him is one of the most heartbreaking moments in a children's cartoon I've ever seen. So honestly, I feel like that's a worthy enough podcast in itself, like horrifying sad or devastating moments in children's cartoons, because there's a lot of them. But that one I remember still stuck with me. It's probably 30 years later, I still think about it and I'm sad about it.
Hey, the power of cartoons is why we're here.
That is true. Although I don't think anything in this cartoon is going to make me feel as profoundly family maudlin as that episode of Winnie the Pooh did.
There's some good Storm episodes coming up.
Oh, it's got to be Storm with you every time, doesn't it?
This is a good Storm episode.
Listen, are you finally? Are you? Can you die happy now that we had Storm on the show?
Happier.
It's a sad but honest commentary on who we are as individuals. I enjoy that very much. So anyway, we see
exposing my cool facade at the start of the interview, by the way.
Oh, no problem at all. Hey man, if you want to get, I don't know, who's someone I fanboy out over?
I don't know, but I'm gonna find them.
You do it, and you can certainly give it up. I'll tell them myself that I'm a huge fan. I do it on my show often when I talk to someone that I'm a fan of.
David Cutler.
He's my old roommate. He's not like my best friend. He's not. I do like Dave a lot.
Pretty hard over Dave Cutler.
Dave's great. I'll tell him to his face. He's great. But we lived together for a couple of years. Like I know, I know the mystery of him is not quite as. I mean, that was a long time ago. He's a different person, so am I. But yeah, no, Dave's awesome. I love his artwork so much, and some of the work he's doing with Marvel.
Oh, I know who I'll get. I'm going to embarrass you in front of Grant Morrison.
Oh, that would be devastating. I don't think I embarrassed you. I just told her you're a massive fan of her work on the show. It's almost
No, I'm just kidding.
I think I endeared you to her.
I think you did too. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, well, I'm always looking out for you, Davan. So anyway,
who do these genius spy catchers think they're
see,
dealing
it just
with?
keeps playing.
Winnie the Pooh.
What is wrong with that? I even shut
Who
down
do these genius spy catchers think they're dealing with?
Oh my god! All right, continue.
I just want to wait for the four. Good comedy comes in threes. I feel like when I start talking, it's going to come in one more time. Okay.
All right. Back up. Anything could happen.
So, Omega Red and the team get ready to go, and Wolverine, of course, is antagonistic towards him. They got them in these little suits, underwater suits, to protect them from the radiation on the sub. But they're agreeing to go along with it just because, they got to do what they got to do, basically. I feel like they do a little glimpse of Storm's unease going into a submarine, but I feel like she's pretty accepting of getting into a submarine pretty fast for someone who has like cripplingly bad claustrophobia.
Well, I mean, far be it for me to talk about the heroism of Storm, but I think she handles herself pretty well considering.
Oh, I'll agree, but I feel like that doesn't really come up as part of the episode, like her claustrophobia. She does mention
a little bit.
She does mention that Logan's aware of her, but it doesn't become a stumbling block at any point in the episode.
No, because she's keeping it together. She's a hero, real hero, probably the best hero. So, and Beast mentions it at the end as well. That she's still
true.
Like, she's recovering.
Oh, right. That's true. One thing I did forget to mention was that what part of the deal the government made with Omega Red was with their modern technology they could turn him human again.
But who knew he wanted that? Who knew? Right? I mean, he is that sort of Wolverine character where he's been turned into a weapon against his will, like a lot of Wolverine's villains are.
Well, because most good villains mirror the hero. So if you're gonna pick Wolverine himself as a weapon, that doesn't want to be one,
mirror or like the contrast, like a Professor Xavier Juggernaut thing, like Juggernaut's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, I said not all of them. They all can be great, but usually the main villains are some kind of antithesis to the hero. Like, but actually, even that Juggernaut is too, because he's like instead of a small, essentially weak bald.
That's
man,
what I mean. It's like the opposite.
He's a massive, super strong, dumb guy. So there's interest in that, but I don't know if I ever really thought of Juggernaut as an X-Men, like as Xavier, like a true nemesis to Xavier. I mean,
he was in the old days. They kind of patched things up.
Yeah, well, maybe so. But Magneto always, seems like another side of the same coin. It's almost like just taking part of whatever their value is and going a little further with it, turning it into almost dogmatic or fundamentalist in a way that's like unyielding, and that's what turns them bad. Like Reed Richards and Dr. Doom are both scientists. One actually has more empathy, and the other is more arrogant, and that's generally where the line is.
And you can do different aspects of the same character. Like Magneto's kind of the antithesis to Xavier's philosophy, whereas like Shadow King is like the antithesis of his like powers and how that could have driven him to darkness.
Yeah, but Magneto well, Magneto and Xavier both want the same thing. They just both have two wildly different methods of doing it. One through peace, one through war. So, it's a very revolutionary approach. It's similar to many people in history.
Not necessarily war, Andre. I mean, they can surrender.
I think Magneto has quite
Humanity can
actively tried to eliminate the entire human race before.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I believe even endeavored to do so in this show. So,
who hasn't hijacked a nuclear firing?
There is a nice moment when they're going. That's right. When they're going down in the submarine, where Wolverine, where Omega Red tells Wolverine they promise him back his humanity, and this moment actually, yes, this photo is actually relevant. In which,
yeah, I did it.
He says, they promise my humanity back, something that you of all people, Wolverine, can appreciate. Logan gets
as much as you can with like a almost stereotypically evil villain like Omega Red, or at least stereotypically uncaring.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to humanize him a bit here in the episode.
Well, it's kind of a smoke screen, but yes, they are.
Well, yeah, somewhat. I mean, he could have been talking truth there. It just happened to.
Well, he does reveal a little later on that he didn't care about being human at all, and he's happy to be a living weapon. So it's all part of his plot to get revenge.
Oh yeah,
he does say that.
Never mind.
So
he is a stereotypically evil villain, but he looks
pretty
cool.
much. He does look very cool. So they find the submarine. They come in and dock with it. They release Omega Red from his shackles, essentially, or the government does now that they're in position, and they go into the space. Although once he gets released from his shackles, there's a bit of a stare down between him and Wolverine. But the government says, because they're watching through video and whatever from a distance, that time to get to it. And Wolverine tells them, "After you, comrade." They jump into the submarine and start looking. They do find the control room, and Omega Red is using.
It is a great irony, no? A man whose body is able to heal itself, but whose spirit never can.
Knew it.
Wolverine, no!
Cut the phony philosophy. Let's just do it.
Omega Red is, of course, antagonizing Wolverine, saying that Wolverine can't forgive the past, and that it's ironic that his soul is so damaged and won't heal itself when his body can, which I thought was a nice little dig.
He's comparing himself to Wolverine. He's like, I've accepted who I am, Wolverine, and I'm happy about it. Why do you have to be such a grumpy, unhappy fellow all the time?
I believe he said the word grumpy, unhappy
life
fellow.
Is precious to me, at least my own life.
It's precious to me, at least my own life. I thought that line was good.
So yeah, it sure is. So he manages to get the craft going, the submarine, and then very quickly reveals his true intentions, using one of his own little carbonadium. Is carbonadium, is that they call it?
Yeah, carbonadium. Yeah. It's like a more flexible version of adamantium.
Carbonadium tendrils to dig the nitroglycerin. Nitrogen. Nitroglycerin was blown to pieces, which probably would have been a better choice.
Oh no, it was
nitrogen. It was supposed to freeze them.
Yeah.
From the inside. Yeah. So he used the carbonadium to dig in the base of his own skull and pull out the liquid nitrogen, which seems like
they were going to kill Omega Red with an ice cream headache.
Pretty much. And if you have the image of when, I don't think you do, but when he pulls the piece out that they put in his head, it's not a small piece. It's like the size. It's like the size of this microphone. Like it's like, I don't know what they dug into him. I mean, not quite that big, but basically it's like about the size of a pencil. Like it's pretty big. Yeah. Like that's pretty big to jam into someone's spine. So anyway, it's also like it seems with incredible ease he manages to pull this out, meaning he either doesn't feel pain, doesn't care about pain, or the government didn't put it in very deep. But you'd think trying to keep a guy in check like Omega Red, they'd have more than just one little nitrogen capsule.
When did he do it?
Just like basically when
he was just sitting there next to Wolverine.
Essentially, yeah. And after
And he
he
kept it
told them
together, like he didn't even wince because Wolverine would have hurt him. So he just did that.
after he told him he had his own plans, basically, and then just ripped it out. Wolverine tries to go attack him
He's
when he sees this
hardcore.
happen, but Storm stops him, indicating that if he were to tear their suits at all in a kerfuffle, it would kill them pretty quickly because of the radiation. She says that Wolverine would probably heal.
Spaces overwhelm me. You must stay clear-headed if we are to survive.
So
Storm though, there where she's just like, look, I'm trying to keep it together here best I can. I actually need you to keep it together over here.
well, that was a little before they got into this part. This part is
Yeah.
where she basically tells him, like, if he rips the suits, then you may survive because your healing factor. I'll definitely die.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
Is that it?
If those Soviet wise guys build subs like they built Chernobyl, I don't want to give this one any reason to lose its cool.
That was a good line too. Wolverine just zingers.
These controls are rather vague.
Russian saying states, any landing you can walk away from is good landing.
We don't.
Actually, he reminds me of. Have you watched a new season of Stranger Things?
No.
Yeah, he reminds me a bit of the Russian characters in that Yuri and the plane the little plane guy and the Russian guard that Hopper.
Who do these
befriends.
genius spy catchers think they're
Oh my god,
dealing
why
with?
does that
Winnie the
keep
Pooh?
Do you have this set up to if there's a gentle breeze it activates? Is there a fan in the room?
I'm just gonna delete that sound effect. There.
It's just gonna be something else. It'll just be
We'll see what
we
happens.
beg to differ over and over again.
People are gonna think this is a Winnie the Pooh podcast.
Sure feels like it. So
Speaking of Winnie
basically,
the Pooh, you mentioned Rabbit.
They ought to use this tub in one of those battery ads with the rabbit.
yes.
That Rabbit?
Well, he is a rabbit.
Who do these genius spy
Oh my
catchers
God.
think they're dealing with?
How is it still
Winnie
playing?
the Pooh?
Oh my god.
Is your computer haunted?
I guess. I am known for my technical difficulties. Continue before
Well, in the military,
it's too late.
becomes aware that Omega Red is inevitably betrayed them, as they should have seen from the get-go. They call in the Coast Guard and everybody else to come assist them, basically. But Wolverine, of course, has had enough and doesn't care if his lungs are going to melt. He uses his claws through his suit, which will allow the radiation, and goes to attack Omega Red. However, there's an altercation that happens for a little bit, but he manages to kind of throw Wolverine off him, but the radiation starts affecting him pretty quickly. Rogue uses the her wind powers, which seem to work inside a hurricane, oddly enough. Or inside hurricanes.
Storm, you mean.
Create a hurricane inside a submarine. But she grabs Wolverine's. What?
You said Rogue. You meant Storm.
I don't care. I don't know anymore. I don't know.
I'm
just waiting for another Winnie the Pooh reference so that I can throw my microphone through my computer screen and give up on this whole charade.
I believe that Omega Red forgot that Wolverine and Storm's microphones are still operative.
Yes, that's coming up very soon. So Wolverine collapses because the radiation is getting to him. Storm, after pushing Omega Red back with their powers, is going to help them. They're going to try to get back to their mini sub and escape, but Omega Red means to capture them with his tendrils. Sounds kind of dirty. Just grabbing people with his tendrils.
Well, they call him an octopus.
Do they call? Who calls him that?
Rogue does, I'm pretty sure. Might even be right here.
Can't you boys figure out a better way to deal with that octopus than beating up Storm and Logan?
There it is.
Fair enough.
Hmm.
So then we see the
they
black.
couldn't.
No.
That play.
So Omega Red now has. Oh my god, my cat's adorable. He's sleeping on my foot underneath my computer table.
So
So
mad at me because she was sleeping in this chair I'm now sitting in.
oh well.
I'm a bit of a jerk.
I know you had to use your chair. I know what a jerk. They don't actually sleep in my computer chair. They don't come near, which is interesting. But yeah, so the Blackbird shows up with Beast and Rogue in tow to assist, who have kind of been monitoring this whole time.
Mm.
They're kind of being led by Charles, who's on Cerebro back, giving them some direction about, not allowing the submarine to be able to shoot its missiles. Beast, Xavier asks if they have the depth charge ready, and Beast says armed and ready for deployment on what appears to be a Winamp screen. Like the computer just looks like what a Winamp screen looked like back in the day for playing music. It very
Winamp
much
wasn't even around then, though. This is before.
Well, maybe this is the precursor to Winamp. Could have been Winamp. Beast could have been listening to some tasty tunes while flying into the old.
Maybe.
The old
Beast was listening to in 1995.
I feel like a lot of Hootie the Blowfish. That's what I would have definitely.
Oh man, I was.
I want to see Beast just like, I want to be with you.
Yeah, man, Hootie's underrated. Hootie's good stuff.
Yeah, are you a fan of Darius Rucker now and his country music?
No,
you're no longer down with Hootie and the Blowfish. I guess once he lost the Blowfish.
I just like that one album really, and maybe the one after it.
Maybe it's better than Ezra. What else could he be listening to?
Oh, man.
I feel like he'd be listening to angsty 90s stuff. So, like, for maybe not Nirvana, but stuff that was like, I love Moist, but Moist is great. I wish David Usher never went on to do his own thing, although his own stuff's all right too. But
Little Songs was quite good.
Moist was amazing. Like those 3 albums that they had, mostly for
just a little too late.
Here comes a resurrection. Everybody's got to die for something. Tangerine, Silver. Those are all really good songs. Oh, and no, the best one is Leave It Alone. Leave it alone again tonight. I'm not a great singer, but maybe some Blind Melon. I feel like that's what Beast would be listening to.
He was about to say that, so we agree.
Definitely Blind Melon.
Yeah. I used to like me some Blind Melon.
My brother actually just sent me a song today from them, Change, which he said was his favorite song by them. And then I listened to it and I was like, oh, I totally know this song. It's very good. I actually do a pretty decent cover of No Rain as well. On the
I don't fear the sun's coming out today. Yeah,
very nice. Oh, no, you got to do that whole song now.
Staying in, gonna find a better way. Yeah.
If I'm in the right frame of mind, in the right tone, I can sometimes do the, I can say
who do these genius spy catchers
life is pretty plain.
Winnie the Pooh.
Oh my god.
There's going to be one magical day where the show has no technical difficulties, and it's going to be like the last episode of the show.
And it's going to be comparatively boring.
Yeah, probably so, because I know the last season of the show isn't great. So we'll be like, well, this episode sucked, but it went off without a hitch. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So moving on, Beast moves past his Winamp screen and has the depth charges ready to kind of get involved in case the situation calls for it. Meanwhile, you see some infighting between the government because the guy that had recruited Omega Red to begin with never was so confident in his plan. He never really told any of the other government agencies what he was doing. So they're all scrambling to get there in time. So we cut back to Wolverine and the group. Omega Red also revealed that he plans on using a warhead to wipe out every major city in the world. I don't know how many warheads are on that ship, but it's a lot of major cities in the world. It's like
not according to him.
Yeah, so basically he's going to
Moscow, there's Hawaii,
his own major city,
and
so he basically says he's happy to be a living weapon, and he doesn't want to be human again. He likes being what he is, and that he's going to basically decimate the world, let it all fall apart in the wake of all the nuclear destruction, and then hang out in the submarine for what'll probably be decades before Fallout. Well, I guess he could survive in Fallout, so it doesn't even matter. But hang out in the submarine for a while, which, like I said, would probably be decades before things sort of became more stable after everyone wipes each other out, and then go up and basically take over the world, or at least rule in the way he sees fit. Which I thought's kind of a thin plan for villains. Whenever the villains want to destroy the world and then rule whatever's left, you can never guess what's going to be left. There could be nobody left. He's going to sit in a pile of rubble.
Not care, but yeah.
I always found that the destroying of the world an interesting motivation for a villain.
Take over the world is better, Dr. Doom style.
Well, that makes sense because if you don't like how the world's run, and you think you can do better, then this is it. But it always seems strange to me when it's like, just destroy the world. It's like, why not just kill yourself? Why do you want to take the whole world with you?
Hang on, Hank. We got 4 birds left in this turkey soup.
4 birds left in that turkey soup.
Well, we didn't even send off one bird yet. So the ship starts rocking while he's monologuing, basically, because those depth charges are coming in from the Blackbird. The government is aware that somebody's attacking the submarine, but their radar doesn't show anything because the Blackbird's a stealth craft. They're pretty upset by that. So
what is it? An angry wind?
Yeah. So Omega Red heads he's doing all this while having Wolverine and Storm trapped in his tendrils that he's just dragging along with them. But as they're sending the depth charges down and distracting him, kind of attacking the submarine, he starts activating warheads. So the warheads start going off. The Air Force is en route, but they're too slow to get there. So the Blackbird starts taking them out. Thankfully enough, the warheads weren't activated. They're supposed to activate when they get closer to their target. However, the government does mention that at some point, if Omega Ray did activate them early, they could be active right from the get-go, which would make blowing them up difficult. I'm not sure the science behind active, not active, but it's still blowing up. How that doesn't disperse the radiation. I'm guessing it's in some kind of a cage or something like the before the atom splits, causing the nuclear explosion. I'm not a scientist, certainly not a nuclear one.
I was a nuclear scientist last week on my Glidden segment on my Simpsons podcast.
So
tell you
you still doing that?
Fish. Oh yeah, we're only 4 episodes in.
4 episodes.
You thought it was gonna die after a couple, did you? Oh man, we're all.
Oh, I have little to no faith in anything you do, Devin.
Well,
I'll
prove you wrong, sir. I'll prove you wrong.
We're on season 4 of this show. Why would I think that? I'm just teasing. Jesus Christ! Don't get your friendly little
Ebenezer Scrooge you were. What a Scrooge!
Hey, I have done.
I
think I've proven time and time again my dedication to you and the various amount of shows involved in this crazy experiment. So basically Storm and Beast pick off each of the missiles as they get to the targets. Omega Red gets angry at this and starts activating the nukes in advance so that they'll be active from the get-go, or he's about to. They got a couple of their missiles like the Blackbird couldn't catch up to, but the Air Force shows up in time and manages to make a save, which I thought was kind of weird. The big save is the Air Force when the government's kind of the reason all this happening to begin with.
Well, at least the military they can do is help.
Anyway, Omega Red's pretty upset that his plan has been stopped, and he's going to get rid of kill the hostages and wipe out Hawaii with his remaining missiles. Is basically his plan. However, Rogue decides she's had enough and just flies straight down to the submarine and starts ripping off pieces of it and bending the navigation modules and breaking the rotor on the motor or on the engine and all that sort of stuff. So just
a funny line there too.
Rogue, what is happening?
I bent his boat.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I bent his boat.
It's funny too because like when she dives down to go do it, Beast's like, "No, Rogue, it's too deep. You can't do it." And she does it with ease. She goes right down, just bends it all, and then comes back up.
They don't know how powerful she is at this point, maybe, but she's a beast.
So basically, as she starts messing with the boat, Omega Ray gets distracted. Storm and Wolverine get back to their submarine and raise it, leaving Omega Red trapped back on the submarine, unable to go anywhere. He tries to make it move, but all the damage that Rogue did makes it just teeter over a cliff into like an abyss, if you will, to use a James Cameron reference, in the ocean, and then he's gone. So we cut to Beast giving an update to the Professor about
James
how
Cameron before he descended into CG madness.
The Abyss had quite a bit of CG madness in it.
Sure.
It also was a deep sea underwater sort of story. So, water obviously is something that James Cameron has a deep fascination with. It's played a part in quite a few of his films.
I'd argue all humans have a deep connection with water.
Well, we need it to survive. We're made up of 80% of us is made up of it. So, yes, I would say you're right, Davan. Your grade school observation is correct. Very good.
That's why I'm here. Grade
That's
school
right.
observation.
Bringing those
Hey,
hot
put me
takes.
through grade school.
Bringing those hot takes, Davan Skelhorn. Water is good for humans. Yes. Thank you, Davan. I'm kidding. So anyway, we cut back to Beast giving an update to Professor X, basically stating that Storm is getting over her claustrophobia from being in the submarine, but Wolverine seems more bothered by what happened because he feels responsible and for not doing enough to stop Omega Red. And then we see Wolverine brooding as he does so often and so well by a lake outside of the X Mansion property, saying that you must have this dialogue.
He's out there. I can smell him.
To which we cut to the submarine at the bottom of that chasm with Omega Red's. You see his eyes glowing within. He's still in there alive. So, I mean, we've yet to see the end of Omega Red, and then we see during the credits a pretty extended section of the next episode, which might not actually be the next episode in the new run of these episodes.
It is.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It is.
Perfect.
Yep. Though I have a problem with that, and we'll talk about that later.
By giving away that much information, that's quite a spoiler.
It's got to be the end of that episode. Like,
yeah,
Cortez is betraying him already. Like, what? Anyway.
Well, now you're ruining it for our listeners.
No, but only fans of this show will know where this story goes. Actually,
did somebody say
pulls that
only
submarine
fans?
Up on an island?
Are you suggesting we make an X-rated OnlyFans site? Is that what you're suggesting?
No. Well, you can.
You would not support that, nor would anybody support that.
No.
Just me in a Santa hat covering my junk. You wearing an X-Men visor. That's what you're gonna get.
Playing acoustic guitar.
I could do that. Just various things, X-Men related things, covering my penis while I pose in semi levels of nudity. That's what my OnlyFans site will be. If you're here for it, if you're here for a big hairy burly dude with a beard, then,
Each of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
Look into your own heart and decide, Andre. I'll go first. I like this one quite a bit, actually. I'm going to give it a 9.
It's a pretty good episode. For one of those standalone Creature of the Week type episodes, I thought it was pretty solid. The Cold War stuff, the return of Omega Red, the him seeking revenge on Wolverine and Storm, all played nicely. Great villain, great little story. I would give it a 9 as well.
It very much felt like a movie from like the Top Gun era or something, It was
like Red Dawn, perhaps,
like Red Dawn. Exactly.
More notably, Hunt for the Red October, which does take place on a submarine.
Yeah, true.
A nuclear submarine, and was probably out around this time, so perhaps that played into why they used that as a theme for this.
So yeah, makes sense. Good episode. Fine job, friend of the show, Eric Lee Wall.
Yes, good job, Eric.
Yeah. All right. Uncanny X points. You want to go? You go first.
I go first. Okay, so the military guy, the main military guy who's barking orders all the time, he's got this sort of subservient guy or another government guy that is pretty upset with him for not, he's the one who's always like, well, the Air Force is going to take a while because you didn't tell us what you were doing. And that is very obviously the voice of Cyclops. So I'm guessing they reused he's not quite as punching it up as he does most of the time as Cyclops, but it definitely sounds just like a slightly more subdued version of Cyclops' voice. So I 100%
episode. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they probably just got him to do that because they're already paying him to be in the show. So it is. I would be incredibly surprised if it isn't, but it's very obviously The actor that does the voice of Cyclops, Chris Potter, not Chris Potter. What was his name?
Norm Spencer.
Norm Spencer. Very obviously Norm Spencer.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, my point is the submarine was called the Chios, and Chios is an island in the Aegean Sea off of the west coast of Turkey, it belongs to Greece. So it's named after an island. Now I wonder if that's the island that Omega Red ends up on, and that's what he was hinting towards. He was already writing the next one. He ends up on an island in the unmade episode. So interesting stuff there.
There's some interesting stuff there. There's a Wolverine quote for my next point that you did not mention. He says, "An island vacation with Omega Red in toxic nuclear powder keg, 3 miles underwater. Yeah, it's pretty much Shangri-La."
That's a good one.
Pretty good one.
There's a lot of good lines in this one.
Yeah, Wolverine
was definitely hamming it up.
He burns bright in this episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, he does. All right, well, back to me. So this one starts off with a sound effect.
Like vilified Cassandra, we all may pay a price for Wolverine's foresight.
Cassandra, from Greek mythology, was a Trojan priestess dedicated to the god Apollo and fated by him to utter true prophecies, but never to be believed. In modern usage, her name is employed as a rhetorical device to indicate a person whose accurate prophecies, generally of impending disaster, are not believed.
Which seems
after the sack of Troy, she was also murdered.
Which seems not accurate because Wolverine's generally correct. Every time he's like, "This situation is not going to work out well," he's pretty much right. That implies that it's like a boy who cries wolf scenario. I'm familiar with the phrase, but I haven't heard it in a long time. So just it seems on Beast's part that Wolverine often is correct whenever he's saying that something bad's going to happen.
Well, right, Beast wasn't on his top game this episode.
No, but the animation on Beast looked really good. I did want to point that out. That could be my next point. The animation in this episode is very, very good. Especially the rendering of Beast, like the shadows around his fur and stuff, look really, really cool. So, unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot to do in this episode. Omega Red looks really good as well. Everybody looks really pretty good. But I was impressed with some of the detail and the close-ups. Like Beast looks really good in close-ups and stuff in this episode.
Is that your next point?
That's it.
All right. My next one. Yeah, also starts with a sound effect. This is number 3, right? Yeah, number 3.
Well, this will be my 4th coming up. So yeah, your 3rd.
Yeah.
To paraphrase Cowper, they delivered us when bound and when bleeding, healed our wounds, sought us wandering, set us right, turned our darkness into light.
You beat me. I was going to bring that one up too. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
This is all right. Well, this is a hymn by William Cowper, which is actually pronounced Cooper. So this is why I'm saying, Beast is off his game. Beast should know that.
Well, you didn't have the internet to tell you the proper pronunciation back in the day, so you may have just interpreted wrong. And then
true, but when you talk like Beast talks all the time and you mess something like that up, you better expect to be called on. That's all I'm saying.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. So it's the hymn. Christ delivered me when bound. That's why he said paraphrase, because he removed the word Christ. Because it goes, Christ delivered me when bound and when bleeding, healed my wound, sought me wandering, set me right, turned my darkness into light. Can a woman's tender care cease towards the child she bare? Yes, she may forgetful be, yet will he remember me. And it goes on. I won't do the whole thing.
That's very Jesus-y. Is Beast a Jesus guy?
It's a hymn. It's a hymn.
Beast
no. He's a poetry guy, and Cooper was a...
No. You don't cover up Beast's fundamental Christianity. We all know now that he is...
He was probably brought up that way, maybe, until they found out he was a mutant.
The old McCoys, before he turned blue.
The dirty, stinking mutant.
That's right. All right, my next point will be the voice actor who does the voice of Omega Red. I don't believe I spoke about him last time he was on the show, but his name is
A Russian name.
Donchev.
Yeah.
He was born in Toronto, 1932. I do think I may have figured out why I recognize his voice, but I'll get to that in a second. He has IMDb is full of Canadian shows and American shows as well. Most notably, he had an appearance in the movie Strange Brew, which most Canadians will be familiar with as the Bob and Doug McKenzie movie from the Great White North. But the thing I think I might recognize his voice from is from Heavy Metal, as he did a voice in that as as the Barbarian in the Tarna segment. Heavy Metal is a innovative animated film from the 80s, early
John Candy.
John Candy's in it, yeah. I think Eugene Levy's in it too. There's he's also in Littlest Hobo, Night Heat, War of the Worlds, a Canadian TV show version. ENG, X-Men. This is all before X-Men. He's in Silver Surfer cartoon as well. FX, the series. The movie Dick, the one with Kirsten Stewart, the one about Richard Nixon. Yeah, a ton of stuff. Earth Final Conflict, all these Canadian shows, Dead Zone, Andromeda, Chris Isaak Show, which is Cold Squad, Puppets Who Kill. He died in 2013, but Puppets Who Kill was one of his last.
Remember Puppets Who Kill.
Yeah, it was a good show. His name was Papa Dondras in that. Actually, based on a conversation I had with my next guest on my podcast, I think I might endeavor to watch all of the Lex. It seems weird and interesting enough for me. I downloaded it that I'd like to maybe give it a shot and see if I can get through it and if I enjoy it.
Now, friend of the show, Lenore Zan's in an episode.
I know. I don't know what episode, but when I see it, I'll certainly bring it up. I haven't watched it yet. I just literally had this conversation yesterday. So, but
some people love it, man. It's got a cult following.
Yeah, and it's it was filmed here, so in Nova Scotia.
I used to watch it every now and then, but it was so weird, so it was hard to jump into. But
yeah, I actually met the guy that played Stanley on it because he was in Hobo with a Shotgun that I had a small role in. Not a role. I was just in the background. I didn't have any role at all. I was just in the background, but it was still cool to see him because I remember that show being pretty big. It only had 4 seasons, but the first season were like all movies, so it had a lot of content over the show.
Stanley Tweedle. All right, my next point's a simple one. The submarine was, of course, yellow.
The little submarine was. That's funny. I didn't even think about that. That's very
submarine. Of course,
that's very clever. I didn't even think about that at all.
In the land where I was born,
there lived a man who sailed the sea.
Your final X point, Andre.
My final X point, I like the poking of the American military in this. Wolverine has a little bit of an altercation with the, they kind of make they don't make the government look super nice, which is something that, they probably don't want to piss off anybody really at that time. You got to be careful about who you offend when it comes to content you put on the air, especially in the 90s and stuff like this. But there is a nice little interaction between Wolverine and the Colonel, the one that's sort of spearheading this Omega Red use of Omega Red.
Colonel.
So I want to thank you for agreeing
to join. That's what Omega Red keeps calling him. Colonel.
I want to thank you for agreeing to join our salvage effort. We all know what's at stake. Wolverine says, "You don't have a clue, bub." And he goes, "Speak when you're spoken to, mister." And then he goes, "You come a step closer, pal, and you're going to eat that hand."
Yeah, you're going to eat that hand.
So yeah, I like these sort of little poking fun of the but also it sort of comes full circle when the military does save the day at the end. So it's a bit jaded and mismatched, but I did think it was kind of fun to poke a little bit of fun at the military institution, especially in the early 90s.
Oh sure.
Ow.
Okay, settle down, Lebowski.
He was sleeping on one side and he rolled over on top of my foot and then saw that as an attack and started attacking my foot. Like my foot was there. He put himself on it. And then he's like, "Now you die."
Since Wolverine mentioned it, I thought I'd talk, and I was talking about it on Simpsons podcast last week. I thought I'd talk about Chernobyl. For those of you who are young and perhaps don't remember, I was 2 at the time. It was a nuclear accident that occurred on April 26, 1986 at the number 4 reactor in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. In Springfield, they have 2 reactors.
I've got to think even the The kids know what Chernobyl is. They have to.
They probably do. There's, the wildlife's kind of taking it back, and there's like some weird animals that are thriving, but they look different, like the all black frogs and things like that.
Is it like the
Anyway, it was only one of only 2 ever accidents that rated 7 on the maximum severity on the International Nuclear Event Scale. The other one being Fukushima.
No, I was going to say 3 Mile Island, but I guess not.
No, that was a test. That wasn't a disaster. But yeah, actually, they were doing a test at Chernobyl when everything went wrong. They were running a test, and then like all the things that were supposed to work weren't up to specs, and it all just went bad from there. But yeah,
not according to the Russian government. After the Chernobyl show did really well, they made their own show, which basically described the accident and it implied that the accident was caused by American saboteurs.
Well, maybe it was
with no evidence whatsoever.
I think it was Omega Red. All right,
could have been.
I know where we are. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot the previously on X-Men.
Previously on X-Men.
So you played at the end?
Yeah, I'm going to play it at the end. I'm going to play it right now.
Oh my god. All right. It's gone over with.
Do we follow? No, Scott. He chose not to continue his attack. I believe that is his way of saying thank you.
What a dick. He could just say thank you. They didn't save his life, even though he's tried to kill them and destroy their home several times.
He's the strong, silent type.
Oh, he's a tool.
Hey, check this out.
Hey, check this out. This is our comic reminiscences and recommendations segment. Hey. Well, I am going to recommend an X-Men Christmas episode or issue. Ooh. Uncanny X-Men number 230, starring our buddy Longshot. He's very much in this one.
And it's Christmas.
But the whole Outback team was, if you're familiar with the Outback team.
Were they an Australian team of X-Men?
No, well, at the time the X-Men were like supposed to be off grid, so people didn't know everyone thought they were dead, so they were hanging out in Australia, and it was like Wolverine and Storm and Longshot and Psylocke and Rogue and Colossus.
Was that teleporting guy there? The what was his name?
Gateway?
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked to Gateway every now and then while they were there. So in this one, it's called "'Twas the Night Before." Well, that great Storm shot there. She just got her powers back, actually, so she's flying for like one of the first times since she got her powers back.
How did she lose her powers?
How did she lose her powers? Someone took them from her.
Son of a bitch.
There's a lot of stuff that happened in this Claremont run. So basically, the Reavers stole a bunch of stuff. The Reavers were their big nemesis when they were down there in Australia. The Outback, a lot of the classic covers, man. That was from the Outback run. A lot of crazy stuff happened in that. It was good stuff. So they basically find the Reavers' treasure cave, where all the Reavers' stolen goods are. They're there in the treasure cave, and there's these spirits, sort of like the spirits of Christmas, but they're actually the spirits of the stolen goods. But it's actually Christmas Eve when this issue was happening. So what the X-Men decide to do is return all these stolen goods on Christmas Eve. So they're like little Santas, and they all split up because there's like 6 continents worth of stuff. But they do it all in one night on Christmas Eve, and they buy Dazzler a motorbike for Christmas.
Aw, that's a pretty expensive Christmas
present. Gonna be knocking us around like play toys.
Oh my god! Now it's playing a different one accidentally.
That's an old one,
right? Oh my god! Yeah, you're right. Hasn't been up here. What is happening? Yeah, I'm gonna have to reset my computer to fix all that. But anyway, X-Men 230. Check it out. X-Men doing a little Santa stuff, taking back the stolen goods on Christmas. There we go. There's a shot of a Christmas tree. That's mine.
All right. Well, in
Storm, these people don't have a white Christmas, so Storm makes it snow. Well, they're delivery cousins. It's good stuff.
I was going to do this one. Maybe I'll save this one because something just came to me that makes more sense. in relation to this being our Christmas episode, since it's the last episode before Christmas hits.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to suggest Grant Morrison's Klaus, Klaus, or Claus, if you will, which is basically a kind of retelling of the Santa myth, making him into sort of a magical barbarian, gift-giving, demon-fighting, sort of magical sort of figure. Very interesting, very fun. Kickstarter just put out a big collection that lets you get all of it in one big crazy volume, which I did kickstart. So that made me think of it. But it's also very fun. It's a new take on the Santa Claus myth in a different way, basically making him kind of a sword and steel kind of style hero, which is fun. It's really interesting, and in true Grant Morrison fashion, it's weird and it's out there. But it's got a lot of heart, and it will get you to thinking. So definitely check that out. Very good. Klaus, Grant Morrison. I think there's 3 collections.
Is it Klaus or is it Claus?
It'd be Klaus, but I just like saying Klaus because it's the way it's spelled that way.
Klaus?
It's spelled Klaus, which is the standard spelling of Klaus, but I guess it'd be Klaus. So, yeah, it's very interesting. It's very fun. And, how this guy goes on to become the spirit of Christmas, as it were. And, yeah, check it out.
Do you say Claus, bub?
Claus. Hey, how long you been holding on to use that one?
Just now, I just thought of it. I'm a.
When did we start this, Davan? It wasn't last Christmas. It was last Christmas time. This has been over a year we've been doing this now, hasn't it? Or about a year?
It's been about a year. I think. Yeah, I think we started it like at the end of November, maybe.
Yeah, because I remember we took the week off for Christmas last year. Are we doing that again this year, or do you want to run through?
That doesn't matter to me. It doesn't really fall on Christmas, I don't think. Tuesday,
that's true.
Or anything.
But I like to have a life. I'd like to see my friends. I'd like to
get out.
If
you want to take a week off, we certainly can.
I don't know if I have to, actually. It's probably fine. I think I am going to do some...
We'll see what day it is. What day is it?
The Tuesday would be the 27th.
Yeah, it's up to you, man.
I'll let you know. I have friends visiting that I might have to see, but I'm not sure what day that's going to be. So otherwise, we'll just plan on doing it as normal and let the ex-goons know if not. But
all right.
So yeah, go check out the Klaus book. There's it was by Boom Studios, but you can buy the collection. It has a bunch of it in it now. There's 7 different stories, I think, and some extra miniseries that came a little later. So yeah, definitely worth reading, and a lot of fun, sort of heartwarming Christmassy tales with a sword and sorcery bent to them. Check it out.
It's Andre's remote.
My remote!
Where's your remote going today?
Well, my remote is going to a movie I watched last night.
Sam wants to know if we call anything the day before Christmas Eve something in Nova Scotia.
We do not. However, I am familiar with Tibbs Eve, which is what they call it in Newfoundland, which I believe is where Sam is. Yes, we know Sam. Yeah, I actually got invited to a Tibbs Eve party that a friend of mine is having. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it or not on the 23rd, but that's when you do the mummering and the mummers when they wear the
everyone runs around like Leatherface or like that.
Well, it kind of looks like the Purge.
Trick or treat kids, like the trick or treat kids.
People wear these, like, they dress themselves up in different costumes to mask who they are and show up at people they know's house. And if the people can't guess who they are, they have to give them drinks, I think is how it works. So it's an interesting little Newfoundland tradition. Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, Tibbs Eve's on the 23rd, which is coming up.
Which is funny because Newfoundland itself is an interesting Canadian tradition.
It sure is. So yeah, what I'm going to suggest, a movie I watched last night, actually, because I had posted for the trivia nights. I often post like an ad for trivia with a trivia question, and the one I posted was in regards to an obscure Christmas movie I never heard about, and it was, what is the name of the guardian angel from One Magic Christmas, which is a movie from the 80s filmed in Canada. This particular Christmas angel.
That whole sentence you said was the title of the movie?
One Magic Christmas is the name of the movie.
One Magic Christmas.
So the Christmas angel, and its name was Gideon, and he was played by Harry Dean Stanton, who is a character actor from days past, who featured in a lot of things. Very good actor. You may recognize him from Alien, from Red Dawn, from a bunch of other movies, but very recognizable guy. Often rarely playing a main character role in the movies. He has done that, and he's been fantastic as well. But anyway, it involves Mary Steenburgen, who you may recognize as the wife of Ted Danson, was on The Last Man on Earth and a bunch of shows. But basically, it's this mother who's overwhelmed at Christmas time, learning to love Christmas again after not loving it for a very long time. And this Christmas angel named Gideon is trying to help her with the aid of her family. Has a cameo from a very young Sarah Polley, who's probably like 4 in it. And
no, I didn't know she started that young.
It was filmed in Canada, so mostly in Ontario. And it's got probably one of my favorite versions of Santa Claus I've ever seen in a movie. It certainly seems like the most authentic. He's like sweet, like he's got the Swedish accent or like the Norwegian accent, the big like crazy like mustache into the beard.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, basically. And it's a Canadian actor that plays him too, and he's really good. It's just kind of a good little heartwarming Christmas movie you may not have heard about, but it's definitely worth watching. I watched it on Disney Plus. That's where you can see it. Check it out. Like seriously, it's if you want a good little heartwarming Christmas story that's that's not rewatching the same thing you watch every year. Check that one out. It's really good. One Magic Christmas.
Sounds good. Check that out, everybody. I don't know if my heart needs to be warmer, but if it does, I'll be checking that out. Whoops. My bad. All right. Let's try that again.
What were you doing? Playing with matches?
Yeah, it's 16-bit gaming with Super Nintendo Skelhorn. Really, that's a Simpsons reference, but whatever. I have a Simpsons podcast. This one, I don't know. If you've never played this one, do yourself a favor. It's Chrono Trigger.
Oh, wow. The classic.
Chrono Trigger is amazing. It's the first game other than Mario RPG, though I may have played it first. I'm not 100% sure. That got me into any kind of RPG playing. It's a great game, great characters, great music. It's funny. You can play it over and over again because there's multiple endings. So I've only done. I don't even think I've ever beaten it. I've gotten to the last guy, but I don't think I ever beat him. It's tough. Yeah.
Did you have
but it's a great game. It's one of the best games ever. What?
Did you have a game you've never finished that you always wish you had?
Probably this one.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's long.
I think mine would be.
It's hard.
For the PlayStation 1, I remember there's a game called Legend of the Dragoon, which I used to play a lot. It's it's kind of like Final Fantasy, but you're like these dragon sort of rider kind of guys, and man, it was a fun game. I never finished it, and I'm really disappointed that I never did. And someday I'd like to go back and try and see if I can find it somewhere to play it.
Interesting. Yeah, that was. I don't think I can think of another one off the top of my head. So definitely Chrono Trigger, because I feel like I should have beaten it by now.
There's always a chance. Still time. We can always go back. There's always time, Devin.
Yeah, I know. Is there?
No, probably not. We will die someday.
Oh no! When's that going to happen?
For you, a lot sooner than you expect. I have that.
Right,
I have that thing. You ever see the movie? Speaking of another great movie from the 90s, actually, it might be early 2000s. Okay. So you may have seen The Frighteners. You ever watch that movie?
Oh, of course. Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, do you remember where you could see the little you could see the number on your head when you knew you were going to get killed next?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm seeing that right now, buddy. Seeing it right there.
What's the number? There. Is it a big one at least?
I can't say. I don't want.
You don't want to know.
I don't want you. Yeah, you don't want to know. It's 3. It's 3. It's good. No, I'm just kidding. And if I recall correctly, two died yesterday.
Oh no. Well, where's Michael J. Fox when you need him?
You need him. You need the ghost of the guy from Boston Legal. You need
what guy from Boston Legal?
The black bald guy. What's his name? Was he at Boston Legal, the show he was on? That was the one with Shatner, and but I think he was on that too. He's on one of those shows. He's in a lot of stuff. He was one of the ghosts. Somebody else famous was one of the other ghosts. Jake Busey was the evil guy. Jake Busey was the murderer, if I recall correctly. Oh, and one of the best roles Jeffrey Combs was ever in is in that movie, and he's in a lot of really good ones. Like, I'm a huge Reanimator fan, but his role in The Frighteners is fantastic.
Jeffrey Combs is better than is great in everything.
Pretty much, yeah. He's certainly spent a lot of time in Star Trek, that's for sure.
And he's great in those roles. Wei-Yoon and Shran. Oh man, Jeffrey Combs. We do a whole supplemental on Jeffrey Combs on Locutors of Trek.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, The Many Faces of Jeffrey Combs, it's called. Let's play a game.
No.
Yeah, we got time. We got time for this kind
Who
of
judges
thing.
that?
Me.
You? Okay.
Yeah. It's all me.
What do you think about all this?
One.
All right.
What?
I was going to ask you what you think about all these DC announcements that James Gunn is shutting down all these different parts of DC.
Well, look, I'm admittedly not a DC guy or know really any of the inside stuff there, but I would think they could do with a fresh start.
In my opinion, James Gunn can do no wrong. So whatever he's doing, I'm sure is for the better. And I like Henry Cavill.
He went wrong with the Christmas special, but other than that,
well, I wholeheartely disagree with you on that. But that's neither here nor there. I think it was genius and very heartwarming.
I think DC's going to start to be a little more like Marvel, though. I did see
which it should be.
Why does everybody think DC has to be dark all the time? Like, when did
exactly? That's what I think Gunn is gonna embrace. I mean, look at Suicide Squad. Like, that was actually
I watched that movie.
That movie is fantastic. Like, that movie is probably one of my top 5 favorite superhero movies. It's definitely like if you would have told me,
I didn't think it was that good because it didn't have a plot.
It had a very deep plot.
A good time.
It had a deep plot. Oh yeah. Oh, yes, it did. I mean, it had this theme. Like, it's all wrapped around the central theme that even the worst of us can be redeemed, or at least there's some goodness in us. And it's really summed up beautifully in the scene where they attack Starro at the end, and you see her talking to her dad in the past, where he explains why it was rats that was what drew him to being able to control them, how they're seen as the worst part of society and nobody loves them, but they are useful, and if they can be useful, then anybody can be. And it's this beautiful, heartwarming moment where she stands up for Bloodsport, because she knows he's afraid of mice, and while they tear into Starro, while playing that song, and with that beautiful imagery. And I honestly, and I will admit this, I don't care, I teared up in the theater watching it. Like, and it's rare that a superhero movie would touch me in such a way, but it was so well done, so beautifully done, with all the characters and their arcs getting into a perfect little thing at the end. And even, like, I didn't expect him to go and redeem Peacemaker in his own show, but even that was fantastic as well. So I don't know. Gunn can do no wrong to me. I'll watch anything he does, and I'm actually very excited for Guardians 3. So,
hell yeah,
sign me up for all that stuff. I'm there.
I'm definitely there. It was very good, but I think it'll be a good movie.
I'm definitely there for the High Evolutionary. I'm very excited for that.
Oh yeah, me too.
And seeing Counter Earth done on the big screen is gonna be great.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
and I like that. That's a smart way to kind of cram half world and all these ideas they want to cram together.
And I love that they got, like,
makes a lot of sense.
And the Christmas special was integral in basically catching us up to where we need to be when the movie comes out, knowing that the Guardians are looking after nowhere now, and that Cosmo is one of them is nice. So I'm excited to see.
I mean, a 20-second blurb in the movie could have done that as well.
Yeah, but that wasn't the whole point of the
bad music.
That certainly wasn't
saying cliche things.
Listen, you're just antagonizing because you like to do that. You know I like it, so don't pick it apart in front of me, because I'll just defend it, and then we'll just talk about this all night. Well, I defend it. The music's great. The old 97s are fantastic. That song is incredibly catchy and fun, and I have a special place in my heart as a 90s kid for that Christmas time song by the Smashing Pumpkins, which is used beautifully in that segment where, you know, everyone reaches out and tries their best, even if it was ill-advised by capturing Kevin Bacon to try to help Star-Lord at a time when he was sad. And it's touching. It's touching. You're a cold man, Davan. You got to find the love within.
Fair enough.
What do you mean?
Did you ever think that you're like the seminal Hallmark Christmas character? You literally are like, I mean, you do like Christmas, I know that. So it's not like
I do. I'm wearing a hat.
yeah, I know. I'm not putting you in that box, but you're like this kind of cantankerous, like losing the joy of childhood things that you may have had at one time guy while you're selling Christmas trees. All you need is like some big city woman who's tired of, I mean, I know you're not single, but if you were, you need some big city businesswoman who's out visiting families, tired to go flat outside your Christmas tree lot, and then you have to like teach each other the joy of Christmas, and then maybe you're secretly Santa Claus losing, it could be any one number of those things. But I feel like there's a Hallmark special somewhere in this story, and I'd like to see
I
it.
prefer the Ghosts of Christmas Past or one of those.
You'd rather be a ghost?
It's that way. No, I mean have them come visit me.
Oh, I like that. Oh, you want to do a Scrooge scenario?
Then says, who do you think you're dealing with, Andre? Winnie the Pooh?
I'd love to do a Winnie the Pooh. He's a delightful guy.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh. All right, let's make a mutant. We haven't done this one in a while. Let's build our team up some more before Andre draws them all eventually.
Oh God, yeah, I could do this some year.
Yeah, some year we're doing this show. We'll be well into like season 4 of Spider-Man, and be like, hey, look, I drew that X-Men to you.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. All right. So this is where we each pick a power and a physical trait, and even a character trait if we think of one, and we build a mutant. Try to name it. Yeah, we have a ladies' man. We have a one-eyed mutant or one-nostril mutant. Actually, we have like a minotaur guy. We have like, I don't know. Maybe it's just those 3. I think there's
Have
another
you written
one.
these down? Because I'm not going to remember all this.
No, but I'll go back and look it up. No, actually, maybe I do have it written down somewhere. No, I don't
hope
think
so,
I do.
because somebody needs to have this written down. Otherwise,
All right, well, let's come up with a new one, and we'll write it down.
Okay. So what am I picking again?
A physical trait and a power.
I picked those 2 things?
Yeah.
Physical trait. We had a mullet and ladies' man. Am I right with that? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was overwhelmingly attractive to women during the day and repelled to them at night. Yeah, that was interesting. I feel like
that's a great character.
Yeah, that actually is a great little hook. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, how about gravity? Someone that can affect gravity, like Gravitron from Avengers. They did tease him on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the end of season 1 and never followed up with it.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, maybe they did follow up with that. I can't remember, but anyway, like some of the gravity manipulating powers. Make you light, make you heavy, pick up things, throw it, whatever.
All right. What's your physical trait, or should I pick the power first?
Hairy, very hairy.
Very hairy fella.
Beard, long hair, hairy body.
So he doesn't have to worry about a hair standing up.
Possibly Russian.
Sure. Male or female?
Male. Good point.
Okay, so I have a hairy gravity guy. Okay. This hairy gravity guy actually, he wears like reptilian looking clothing because he doesn't want to appear hairy, so he wants to appear as if he has reptilian scales. So
he's scaly and hairy at the same time.
He has like scaly armor.
Oh,
so he's super hairy, but you'd never know it because he's got scaly armor.
So you're just undoing mine by covering him in scaly armor?
No, it's part of his conflict as a character.
Between scaly and hairy, then riveting. Some good stuff here. All right, what's his power?
Okay, all right, hold on. So he's a hairy guy.
No, we can't go back. We've already.
All right. We already dug this.
That's right. We've dug this grave, and now we gotta lay in it.
Yeah. Okay, and this other power, gravity. And I'm going to say also has water powers.
Okay. So he controls
Like
gravity and water?
water control. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe he controls the
So
moon.
he
And that
can
way
make
he control gravity and the tide.
he can make the water evaporate into the air and then pull it back down.
Interesting.
That's how
This would
his
be the
powers.
hardest series for a writer to write if these characters actually existed.
We'll do it. I'll do it. I'll write issue 1.
Okay.
Once I remember the characters.
Speaking of Marvel stuff, or X-Men stuff, is that Marvel Midnight Suns game out now?
I think it's out now, yeah.
The one with Wolverine
It looks
in it?
really good. Yeah, I mean, the lineup's weird. They had to, like, kind of take the safe route and put Captain America and Iron Man on the Midnight Suns. And
do they?
And Captain Miracle, yeah, and Carol Danvers. They're all on the Midnight Suns.
What the fuck's the point of that?
Yeah, no, it's silly.
It should just be a bunch of cosmic people.
Not mystical people, you mean?
Yeah, like Wolverine being on it's even like not great.
Not great, but like I'm pretty sure like X-23 is on the Midnight Suns now in one of the comics.
No, I mean Blade and Ghost Rider makes sense, but I like to see the old ones like Hannibal King and you know, Frank Drake and
sure
the members of the Darkhold, you know, all those guys. Like that would have been fun.
Darkhold, they weren't really fighters though.
No, not really, but well, Sabretooth tangled with him quite a bit. So, because what was the main guy? Montesi was the girl.
Yeah, Montesi.
She was the witch woman. The guy, the FBI agent guy. I can't remember his name, but he was like he tangled with Saber. I love how in comics you always have to have some connection to somebody. You can't just be a guy. You need to have known Sabretooth back in your war days or something. And the FBI agent who was like tasked with trying to find this comic was such an answer to the X-Files. It's not even funny. It's like, you know, the X-Files is on TV and Marvel's like, oh, look, people like the show. Let's do our own version of like mismatched FBI team that's trying to hunt down supernatural stuff. So they make the Darkhold, which is a book that, you know, it's shown up obviously recently in Doctor Strange, and it was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. But, you know, that this weird dwarf shows up and gives pages to people that solve their problems, in quotes, but end up making things worse by like opening holes to hell, or like it's like one of those careful you wish for scenarios.
Like a monkey's paw.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, your son may come back from the dead, but he's a zombie. So you know, then they're trying to stop all the damage coming from this, track down this dwarf, get these pages back. It was an interesting concept. I actually think it would make for a cool TV show if Marvel ever got so thin they wanted to reach into all this obscure stuff. But maybe that's something I'll do over Christmas is reread that, because they put out the whole series in a collection a few years ago that I picked up. So maybe I'll pick that up, or I'll read through.
All I need now is for you to contact your students, Professor.
What are your feelings on Buddy there becoming like a friend of the X-Men now, Mr. Sinister?
Oh, well, he's not. He's actually just exposed himself as their greatest adversary, essentially.
Oh, that's nice. I was reading something. I was catching up on Spider-Man comics. Usually, after I finish talking to you, I'm struck with a desire to read some comics. So I was catching up on the new Zeb Wells Spider-Man series. I think I'm caught up for what I have.
Oh wow, I would want to check that out.
It's quite good, but there is a couple episodes that cross over with X-Men that have something to do with something that's going on in X-Men Dark Web, or I think it might be before that, because that's coming up. But there's something that was like some storyline with Wolverine and Spider-Man teaming up to stop Moira McTaggart, who took Mary Jane's body hostage. And there's all this stuff, like Peter's at a party or a gala or something, and he's talking to Mr.
The
Sinister.
Hellfire Gala?
The
Hellfire Gala.
So I hate when they hijack the story I'm reading to tie into some other story that I don't know anything about. It drives me nuts. So
they'll never stop doing that, though.
Just do it your own mini series or something. Like I hate when it's in my comic. Like I want to find out what's going to happen next, and it's just pause because Peter's got to run off and go to some weird gala and team up with Wolverine to stop Moira McTaggart, who's a villain now for some reason. So anyway, there's a nice scene where he's like, he talks to, like, he's in the Spider-Man outfit, and I think he's in a black one. There's some different outfit he wore when he's dealing with the X-Men before. I can't remember what. But anyway, he's just there, and like Mr. Sinister's there, and he's like, do those webs come out of your body? And he's like, no. And then Mr. Sinister's like, do you want them to? Like, it's just like a nice like little, and then Peter's just like, there's like a moment where they're staring at each other, which is strange. It's very cool. That was very funny.
Oh man, the last couple of years of comics have pretty much shot Mr. Sinister up to the top of my villains list for X-Men villains. He's so good.
Yeah, I caught up on that, and I read Dan Slott's new Spider-Man series, the first issue of that. So I got some of
for another kick at the can.
I got former
his first run's pretty much all my favorite Spider-Man stuff.
Oh, agreed. But also Ed Brisson, who's a former guest on my show, is writing a new Predator comic for Marvel, which I had the first few issues of. I got to read, so I'm looking forward to that because I love his writing. And I actually picked up one of his graphic novels a while ago called The Field, which is one of his early things that get published. It's very good. It would make for a very interesting movie, and I hope somebody will make one out of it someday. Anyway, your homework is to watch season 4, episode 3, Sanctuary, part 1. Yep. In which Magneto offers to transport all mutants to an orbiting asteroid, which comic fans will know as Asteroid M.
This is straight up 90s stuff here. This is 90s X-Men.
We get to meet those acolytes and Fabian Cortez. And do we meet the other guy? His name I always forget, the darker skinned guy with the mullet, the black hair.
Oh, that's a girl, by the way, Frenzy.
No, not her. In the Fatal Attraction storyline in the X-Men comics, he played a big part of it. Come on. He's one of Magneto's acolytes. He's got dark. I'm just like
no. There's Amelia Voight. There's Amelia Vought, I should say. There's Scanner. There's I don't know. It's all of them that are coming to my head at the moment. But
he's got big gold spiky elbow pads and a white cape that always flows behind him. His costume is black and purple.
You don't mean Exodus?
Yeah, that's it. Exodus.
Oh, Exodus.
Is he in this episode?
He has purple skin.
It looks pink to me.
Yeah, pink. Yeah.
It also kind of looks like the way they used to animate how Native Americans looked in old comics. So I was kind of assuming he's supposed to be represented as Native American.
I don't know. He's actually European from the Crusades time. Like, he fought in the Crusades. He's super.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Is he in this episode?
His name's Bennett du Perry, I believe.
Oh, he's French.
Yeah, he's French.
Very nice. Is he in this episode? You know, because I always liked him for some reason.
Doubt it, just because he's such a powerhouse. Like, I don't know how they'd ever win. He's crazy.
All right. Well, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, check that episode out. It should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to it. It looks like we finally get Magneto back. It's the first time we've seen him since season 2.
Yeah.
He's not been in season 3 at all. And the end of season 2 is the last we've seen of him. So this will be our reintroduction to Magneto.
Hey, you can support us on Patreon. We have a new patron. I forget his name. You'll get a shout out next week, though.
Thank you, sir. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Contact us at xmenreviewshow@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Find our audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, review, subscribe. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't. Tell us what you'd like to see more of. X-Men, hopefully. We are a proud member of the United Federation of Podcasts. Did you guys all know that? It's quite the federation. Look at that. A nice logo there. What can we find on this crazy federation? Oh, I know. What's up on the Graphic Histories podcast?
Well, even though you forgot, the newest episode aired this previous Friday, in which I interview Jeff Blythe, who is a director He's pretty much done everything when it comes to film, and it was a very interesting talk. He worked on The Shining. He was the helicopter camera operator. He did all of the shots of the car driving around the mountain, going up to the overlook. He talks about some of those shots and how they did that.
Being a helicopter, yeah, right?
Oh yeah. He kind of made a name for himself early on, being for helicopter photography, which kind of got him that gig. Also, he had footage from that movie that didn't get used for that movie used in Blade Runner. So find out how that happened by tuning in. He also did all of those 360 circle vision videos that Disney had, like in the 80s and 90s. So he would like go get paid by Disney to go to like China for 2 years and film aerial of the entire country, and then put it together into these movies they would debut at Disney to watch in the pavilions at Epcot. So they do them now as well, but they're different things. But he'd filmed the first versions of them way back in the day. He did America, China, Canada. The stories of what he had to deal with in China with the government basically like hovering over him all the time to make sure he didn't take a picture of something sensitive was very interesting. He worked on a Disney film called Cheetah, which was a straight up Disney film about an American family adopting an orphan cheetah in Africa. It's a heartwarming Disney sort of family film, starring the kid from Adventures in Babysitting, Keith Gordon, I think his name was. Played the
babysitting.
Yeah, he played the older kid. Like there was the male kid and the young girl. He was the male. Yeah, I'm overdue to rewatch that movie. But anyway, yeah. So he had a very interesting career. He did a recent documentary about his father, who was a prisoner of war during World War II after his plane was shot down. Yeah, it was very interesting. Great talk. My next episode will be in about a week and a half's time now. That'll be on December 30th, and I'll be talking to Frank Forrestal, who is an artist in Halifax, who's made movies. His father is a very famous Canadian painter called Tom Forrestal, who, if you're a fan of Canadian artwork, you've probably heard the name before. But Frank's sort of doing his own thing, very Tim Burton-esque sort of imagery and artwork, beautiful, ethereal, dreamlike stuff. And he directed a short film I was in many years ago, so we talked about that as well. And that's probably going to be 2 parts because it was like a 2-hour conversation. So I'll probably break that up into 2 parts. So part 1 will be on December 30th.
Must be some good stuff.
It was really good, actually. He's easy to talk to. We get into some deep subjects. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, you always do on that show. Everybody check out the graphic histories. Also check out Hold Up, a movie podcast. Here Murphy and me yell at each other about movies. That's basically what that is.
You know what? You guys got to keep that to your show.
You get pretty heated.
You got to keep that on your show and not in the chat for the Federation of Podcasts, because I can't get 75 notifications a day about you two arguing over a movie in the chat. So please stop. For the love of God, please stop.
That wasn't me. He was arguing with other.
You know what? I just mute them now for like 24 hours. I just mute the chat so I don't get notifications.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. I would, but I have an empire to run. And also check out KBBBL podcast. The extra B is for BYOBD.
What's that extra B for?
Episode 5 of this, and that extra B was for burping class.
That seems like a stretch.
Well, it was this time. Check that out. We're on episode 5 coming up. Bart the General and cousin Dave's going to join us because he's always the first guest on all my podcasts. Check him out over at the Super Mater Brothers, where they review reality shows. They just finished up Survivor, I believe. Also check out Trivial Debates. I just competed on that one for the Christmas episode. That was fun. Andre showed up a couple hours late to one of them once.
Sure did. And because you keep bringing it up, I'll never do it again.
That's fine. Also check out Live Long and Podcast, where we talk about Star Trek in all its many forms. We play Star Trek games. I do crazy stuff over there on the Computers of Trek. We do radio theater. We just did Star Trek 5. That was fun. We do show reviews in the Command Division, Science Division. I launch probes and things. And
disturbing.
Yeah, oh yeah, it gets crazy. It gets pretty deep, those probes, we tell you. And also check out the Computers of Trek, where we review Star Trek comics and talk about Star Trek through a thematic lens on our audio-only podcast. And check out the Hellbound podcast with Alex Blackburn and Michael Chan for your horror fix. I think they're having an interview on there, or a guest on their next one. I just can't tell who that is. There's lots going on here in the United Federation of Podcasts. Any closing remarks there, Andre?
Merry Christmas, everybody. It's a great time of year to spend with family and friends, and we appreciate you taking the time to spend a little bit of it with us. So much obliged, and we hope you have a great holiday season. Santa's good to you, and you get to see all your family and loved ones.
Yeah, well said. I concur. Enjoy Christmas, everybody.
Merry Xmas.
Oh, catch you X time. That's the line.
Lightning strike!
1, 2, 3.